Today we got a question from Bob, who is a black belt. He's like late 30s, and he was training with another black belt who was in his like early 20s. And so they were rolling the other day, and they're going after it, whatever. And the young black belt is very competitive, competes, all that stuff, and he's also a pretty hard roll. Well, he catches Bob, the older black belt, in an armbar, right? So he's got him there, and he's trying to finish it, right? He's sitting off to the side, and Bob has his hands together, and he's working to defend, right? He's not a beginner. He knows how to defend armbars, but he was just able to manage to get the gable grip. Well, the young black belt starts yanking on the arm, trying to break this grip, right? Because they're down to the last 20 seconds of the roll, and he's really trying to get that finish. And when all of a sudden, Bob feels this pull in his arm, and he realizes that he's torn his pec, right? So the pec muscle, which attaches into the arm here, pulled up and went back in. And so Bob is now going to have to have surgery, and he's probably looking at, 8 to 12 months before he's back on the mats reliably, right, depending on how his healing goes. And so he sent me a message asking for perspectives on it, asking didn't really realize this stuff could happen with arm bars, and, should I be pissed at this guy, whatever. And so I sent him a message directly. But what I wanted to do with this video is bring light to a couple things. Number one, about the armbar not being a safe submission, which a lot of people think it is. And then two, talk about a training tip that could be very useful to you if you want to be a better finisher in competitions and you want to keep your training partners healthy. Okay, so again, if any of that sounds good to you, stick with me and we'll get down to it. So number one, the armbar is not safe. A lot of times people look at like leg locks and they're like, oh my God, heel hooks are so dangerous, right? And sure, they might have a higher incident of injury depending on who's applying it, right? If you get someone that's really good with heel hooks, they won't injure you. But the potential's there. But that doesn't mean that arm bars or any other submission is safe. And a lot of times people think of the upper body submissions as more stable and safe, which to some degree they are, but they're not safe. And you can do a lot of damage to people. And I don't know what this is, but I've seen about 4 pec tears from this position where someone's got an arm lock, someone's ripping it, and they're not using finesse. They're not really using technique. They're just trying to bulldog it out of there, and they end up tearing the person's pec. And so just understand this, because I know we get a lot of new people that come into jiu-jitsu. Again, this person was a black belt, so hopefully they should have known better, but whatever. We get a lot of new people coming into this channel. Understand that when you put someone in a submission, their health and safety is in your hands. Treat it with respect. Treat it with the same level of care that you would want someone to treat you in the same damn position. So if you've got them in armbar, don't just start ripping this stuff. Again, you're going to be in the same position at some point, and you're probably going to want to not to get a pec tear either, right? And understand that those pec tears can come from the position. And like I said, I'll get my buddy Eugene, who's a physical therapist, I'll get him to do a video with me on the mechanism, on how this works. But for now, we're talking about this. But just, again, treat each other with respect, treat each other with a level of care. It's like the old golden rule, right? Treat other people like you want to be treated. So again, don't just rip people's body apart trying to get the win at the last 20 seconds of your damn roll, right? It's just letting you know. Now, that's that. Understand no submission is safe. Don't treat any of them like a safe or a, whatever position. They're all dangerous. Always look at submissions that way. Now, the other thing that you can consider, and this is more of a training tip to make your jiu-jitsu better, more technical, is that when I train, I never injure anybody with submissions. Sometimes we'll headbutt each other and fall on each other wrong, whatever, during a hard roll. But I have never I've not injured anybody with a submission. Like, I can't remember if I ever hurt anybody. Maybe I did at some point. I'm sure I did as like a white or a blue belt doing something stupid. But since I've been a mid to level higher belt, I haven't. Now, one of the specific sort of practices that I implement, especially this started when I was a black belt, is that when I go for submissions on someone, I will try to use as much finesse and technique as possible. If I feel like I really have to use a lot of strength and power to finish it, a lot of physicality, I just bail on it. I might use it to set up other transitions or maybe let them escape and try to transition to a different position, but I will not try to, in a rough manner, try to finish the submission. This does a couple things. Number one, when I first started doing this, I started losing submissions sometimes, right? So again, because I was used to, being a little bit more physical with them. Now all of a sudden I'm trying to be more finesse based, and I'm trying to use technique. I'm losing them sometimes. But what they did long term was it made my technique, my setups first off, way better, because again, if you're gonna be finesse based, you have to have good setups. Your setups have to be on point. So my setups got better. Second, I got better at finishing it by looking for the weak point of the defense, right? So as an example with the arm lock, if they've got their arms together, the weakest point is going to be around here, right? Around the wrist. So we shouldn't be yanking on the elbow joint as much. We should be working towards breaking the wrist locks to do offset, or even, again, pulling the person's arm out to the side. But attacking that lock there up here, not down here. And that's made me more effective with my submissions. Now, here's the beautiful part. This keeps all my training partners safe. I'm not injuring anybody. Even though I can get tons of submissions, I'm not injuring anyone. That's great, because then I got my training partners for the next day, for years to come, and they also want to roll with me because they know that no matter how hard we go, Chewy's not going to injure me, right? That's what you want. The other thing is that when I go to competitions, I have a very high rate of finish when I do compete. And and I didn't always, by the way, I didn't always have such a high rate of finishing. But what happened was, as my setups and my technique and my finishes got more technical, more based on finesse, when I would go to a competition and then I would allow myself to use all my physicality, all my athleticism, strength and power, whatever I want, you combine that with good technique and it enhances, right? So a lot of times we'll say, don't use strength, don't use technique. Well, it's fine to use it at the right times. But if you have like good technique, and then you add strength or athleticism or flexibility or whatever physical attributes you have on top of that, it enhances the technique. It makes it better. And so for you guys out there, understand this. Number one, the arm bar is not safe. It's not a safe submission. Treat it with care. Treat your partner with care. Take care of your damn partners. Again, you don't want to rip someone else apart to win the damn round, because again, practice doesn't count. Remember this. I talk about this all the time. Practice does not count. The only time it matters is if you're battling for like a podium stand or a medal or something like that. Otherwise, we're training. We're trying to get better. We're trying to develop skills. Now, the other part of that is that if you want to develop better technique with your submissions, try to use as little physicality, as little strength and power as possible. You're always going to have to use some, but just check yourself. And like, are you using a lot, or are you really trying to get very technical with those submissions? Because again, if you try to implement this and you're used to using a lot of strength and power, yes, in the beginning there will be a dip as you start to lose submissions because your technique's not quite as sharp. But over time, you'll find that you're probably going to get better with your technique, and you'll keep your training partners safe. So it's just an idea to chew on, guys. Keep that in the back of your heads. And like I said, I'll talk with Eugene, and we'll do a video about how this stuff works with the arm, so you can better understand how the injuries could happen and maybe how to avoid them. So anyway, that's the idea. Bob, thanks for the question, brother. Good luck with your healing up and your injury and your recovery and surgery and all that jazz. And I'll talk to you guys next time.